Abraham Lincoln. The Baltimore plot, which occurred on February 23, 1861, was a sophisticated attempt to assassinate President-elect Abraham Lincoln. As he traveled from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to Washington, D.C. for his inauguration, a group of Confederate sympathizers, led by Otis Hillard, planned to ambush him in Baltimore, Maryland. The plotters aimed to seize Lincoln at the Calvert Street station, where he would be changing trains, and kill him before he could reach the nation's capital. However, Allan Pinkerton's National Detective Agency, led by Pinkerton himself and his son James, uncovered the plot through careful surveillance and informant networks. Pinkerton informed Lincoln, who subsequently took a different route, avoiding Baltimore's main train station and arriving at the smaller Camden Street station on the outskirts of town. August 1864. On a summer evening in August 1864, Lincoln faced another close call while traveling to the Soldiers' Home, a retreat located approximately 3 miles north of the White House. Around 11 p.m., as he rode his horse alone, a lone rifle shot was fired from a distance of about 100 yards. The bullet passed through Lincoln's hat, barely missing his head. Private John W. Nichols, the sentry on duty at the gated entrance to the Soldiers' Home grounds, heard the shot and saw Lincoln approaching without his hat. Lincoln later described the incident to his friend and bodyguard, Ward Lamon, downplaying its significance. William Howard Taft. On October 16, 1909, President William Howard Taft faced an assassination attempt during a historic summit with Mexican President Porfirio Diaz in El Paso, Texas, and Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua. As Taft and Diaz's procession route passed the El Paso Chamber of Commerce building, 52-year-old Julius Bergerson was discovered holding a concealed palm pistol by Frederick Russell Burnham, a private security detail leader, and Private C.R. Moore, a Texas Ranger. Burnham and Moore captured and disarmed Bergerson just a few feet away from the president. The incident occurred despite extensive security measures, including 4,000 U.S. and Mexican troops, Secret Service agents, FBI agents, and U.S. Marshals. Herbert Hoover. On November 19, 1928, President-elect Herbert Hoover faced an assassination attempt while on a goodwill tour of Central and South America. Argentine anarchists, led by Severino di Giovanni, planned to blow up Hoover's train as it crossed the Argentinian Central Plain. However, the plot was thwarted when the bomber was arrested before he could place explosives on the rails. Hoover appeared unconcerned, tearing up a newspaper article, revealing the plot and commenting, "It's just as well that Lou shouldn't see it," referring to his wife. Despite the threat, Hoover continued his tour, earning a positive reception for his complimentary remarks on Argentina. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. On February 15, 1933, President-elect Franklin D. Roosevelt faced an assassination attempt in Miami, Florida. Giuseppe Zangara, a 32-year-old Italian immigrant, fired 5 shots from a .32 caliber revolver at Roosevelt, who was riding in an open car. Zangara missed Roosevelt but hit Chicago Mayor Anton Cermak. Cermak died 19 days later from his injuries. Zangara's motive was reportedly a grievance against the government, which he blamed for his personal hardships, including unemployment and stomach pain. Zangara was immediately arrested, later convicted of murder, and executed by electric chair on March 20, 1933. In his final statement, he bade goodbye to poor people everywhere. Harry S. Truman. On November 1, 1950, President Harry S. Truman faced an assassination attempt at the Blair House, where he was residing during White House renovations. 2 Puerto Rican nationalists, Oscar Collazo and Griselio Torrezola, attempted to kill Truman but were thwarted by White House police. Torrezola injured Officer Joseph Downs and mortally wounded Officer Leslie Caufelt, who returned fire, killing Torrezola with a shot to the head. Caufelt died of his wounds 4 hours later in a hospital. Collazo wounded another officer before being shot in the stomach, and later convicted of murder, receiving a death sentence commuted to life in prison by Truman, and later to time served by President Jimmy Carter. The attempt was motivated by opposition to the control of Puerto Rico by the United States. Truman was unharmed, but the incident highlighted the risks faced by the president and the bravery of the White House police. John F. Kennedy. On December 11, 1960, President-elect John F. Kennedy narrowly escaped an assassination attempt in Palm Beach, Florida. Richard Paul Pavlik, a 73-year-old former postal worker, had planned to crash his dynamite-laden Buick into Kennedy's vehicle, driven by hatred of Catholics. However, Pavlik changed his mind after seeing Kennedy's family bid him farewell. He was arrested 3 days later after a traffic stop revealed the dynamite in his car. Pavlik was later committed to a mental hospital and indicted for threatening Kennedy's life, but charges were dropped due to his inability to distinguish right from wrong. He was eventually released from the hospital in 1966 and died in 1975. Richard Nixon. On April 13, 1972, President Richard Nixon faced an assassination attempt in Ottawa, Canada, by Arthur Bremer, who was armed with a firearm. However, Nixon's motorcade passed by too quickly, and Bremer missed his opportunity. Bremer had become fixated on Nixon after becoming disillusioned with politics and society. He later turned his attention to George Wallace, the Alabama governor, shooting and paralyzing the Alabama governor on May 15, 1972. In a separate incident on February 22, 1974, Samuel Bike attempted to crash a commercial airliner into the White House to kill Nixon but was thwarted by authorities. Bike hijacked a plane, killing 2 people, before being shot and fatally wounding himself. Both attempts highlighted the risks faced by Nixon and the potential for violence from disillusioned individuals. Gerald Ford. President Gerald Ford faced 3 assassination attempts in 1974 and 1975. In mid-August 1974, Muharrem Kurbegovic, known as the Alphabet Bomber, threatened to throw a nerve gas bomb at Ford in Washington, D.C. He was identified and arrested on August 20th by the CIA, Secret Service, and other law enforcement agencies. On September 5, 1975, Lynette Squeaky, a follower of Charles Manson, pointed a Colt M19 11.45 caliber pistol at Ford on the northern ground of the California State Capitol, but was quickly restrained by Secret Service agent Larry Bendorf. The gun did not fire due to a lack of a chambered round. Frum was sentenced to life in prison and was released on August 14, 2009. Just 17 days later, on September 22, 1975, Sarah Jane Moore fired a revolver at Ford from 40 feet away in San Francisco, California. A bystander, Oliver Sipple, grabbed Moore's arm, causing the shot to miss Ford and strike a building wall, slightly injuring taxi driver John Ludwig. Moore was sentenced to life in prison but was paroled on December 31, 2007. There are just 2 documented instances of women trying to kill an American president, both of which occurred during Gerald Ford's assassination attempts. Jimmy Carter. On May 5, 1979, Raymond Lee Harvey, a jobless American drifter with a history of mental instability, threatened President Jimmy Carter's life. Before Carter's speech in Los Angeles, Harvey was taken into custody by the Secret Service while in possession of a starter gun that was empty. He stated he was involved in a scheme with 3 other people, one of whom was a man going by the name Julio, later revealed to be Osvaldo Espinoza Ortiz. The previous evening, Harvey had fired 7 blank shots from the pistol while testing it on a hotel roof. He had both spent and unspent rounds with him when he was taken into custody. The case was dropped for lack of evidence. Interestingly, during Carter's re-election campaign, John Hinckley Jr., who would go on to attempt to kill President Ronald Reagan in March 1981, had also thought about going after Carter but lost courage. George Herbert Walker Bush. A conspiracy to kill former President George H.W. Bush was foiled on April 13, 1993, while he was in Kuwait to celebrate the alliance's victory in the Persian Gulf War. 17 people, primarily Kuwaiti and Iraqi citizens, were detained by Kuwaiti authorities on suspicion of being employed by Saddam Hussein's government. The plan was to attack Bush's convoy near Kuwait University with a vehicle bomb. Both detonators and explosives were discovered with the suspects. However, the plot's credibility has been called into question. Some contend that forced confessions were made, while the CIA's Counterterrorism Center asserts that Kuwaiti authorities fabricated the story. Despite this, the FBI was able to prove that the Iraqi intelligence service was behind the scheme, and President Bill Clinton responded by attacking an Iraqi intelligence facility with cruise missiles. This episode was later cited as a justification for the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. Bill Clinton. President Bill Clinton faced multiple assassination attempts during his presidency. On January 21, 1994, Ronald Gene Barber plotted to shoot Clinton while he was jogging, but returned to Florida without carrying out the attack. Later that year, on October 29, Francisco Martin Duran fired 29 shots at the White House, thinking Clinton was among the men on the North Lawn. 3 tourists, Harry Rakoski, Ken Davis, and Robert Haynes, tackled Duran before he could harm anyone. In November 1994, Osama bin Laden recruited Ramzi Youssef to assassinate Clinton, but the plot was abandoned due to security concerns. Additionally, a bomb was discovered under a bridge in Manila during Clinton's visit in 1996, and a pipe bomb was sent to his home, but both attempts were thwarted by security measures. George Walker Bush. President George W. Bush faced 2 notable assassination attempts. On May 10, 2005, Vladimir Erechounian threw a live hand grenade at Bush while he was speaking in Tbilisi, Georgia. The grenade failed to explode due to a handkerchief wrapped around it. Erechounian was later arrested and convicted of the attempt. In 2022, Shihab Ahmed Shihab was arrested for plotting to assassinate Bush, motivated by anger over the Iraq War. Barack Obama. President Barack Obama faced numerous assassination attempts during his presidency. In December 2008, Cody Ray Brittingham, a U.S. Marine, was sentenced to 100 months in federal prison for plotting to kill Obama, whom he considered a domestic enemy. In April 2009, a Syrian man was discovered with a knife and forged press credentials, planning to assassinate Obama at the Alliance of Civilization Summit in Istanbul. In November 2011, Oscar Ramiro Ortega Hernandez fired several rounds at the White House, shattering a window, and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Donald Trump. President Donald Trump faced two notable assassination attempts in 2017. On September 6, Gregory Lee Lingang, a 42-year-old man from North Dakota, attempted to flip Trump's limousine with a stolen forklift during a rally in Mandan. Lingang was arrested and sentenced to 20 years in prison. In November, a man affiliated with Islamic State was arrested in Manila for planning to assassinate Trump during the ASEAN summit. The Secret Service had been tracking the suspect due to credible threats on social media. July 13, 2024, Thomas Matthew Crooks, born September 20, 2003, attempted to assassinate former President Donald Trump on July 13, 2024, during a rally near Butler, Pennsylvania. Crooks, armed with an AR-15-style rifle, fired from a nearby rooftop, hitting Trump's ear and killing one attendee, 50-year-old Corey Compertor, while critically injuring two others. He was subsequently killed by the Secret Service counter-sniper team. The FBI investigation revealed that Crooks had searched online for information about Trump, President Joe Biden, and other public figures, as well as details about the 1963 Kennedy assassination and the Oxford High School shooting. Before the attack, Crooks practiced firing at a shooting range, purchased ammunition and a ladder, and requested a day off from work. His parents had reported him missing hours before the incident. The FBI found bomb-making materials in Crooks' vehicle and home, but his motive remains unknown. Joe Biden. On May 23, 2023, a 19-year-old man, Siver Sheath Kandula, attempted to breach White House security by driving a rented box truck into a barrier. He was taken into custody by the United States Park Police and found to have a Nazi flag in his possession. Kandula, who admired the Third Reich, expressed his intention to kill the president and seize power. This incident highlights a concerning threat to the president's safety and security. For now, that is all. Remember to subscribe and like the video. Thanks for watching.